Cole, is geolocation information metadata or is it content?
That is an area of the law that's, I think, evolving in light of the Jones case, and it's one that I think the courts are now grappling with. It's not clearly as
the courts did rule in the Jones case 9-0. They were pretty clear. Justice Alito was also fairly clear that Congress needed to grapple with this as well. Has the Department of Justice issued any guidance on Jones?
We're in the process of looking through that. Jones was based mostly on a trespass.
I know what it was. Have you issued any guidance on Jones?
We're in the process of looking through that to do it.
That is not an accurate answer. My understanding is there are at least 2 documents that the Department of Justice has issued to the Federal Bureau of Investigations, for instance. It was uncovered through a FOIA request. Almost every page of this was redacted. So you have indeed actually issued guidance on Jones, correct?
I'll stand to be corrected. If you have those, yes.
What will the Department of Justice provide to this body, to this committee, the guidance on Jones?
That's something we'll have to look into. There's lots of law enforcement.
No, wait a second. I know there are law enforcement issues. I know there are other things. Why would you not provide to the United States Congress, the Committee on the Judiciary, why would you not provide a copy of that guidance for this committee?
If it discloses law enforcement sensitive information and techniques of how we go about fighting crime and finding criminals, then we may not feel free to disclose it.
And to the chairman of this committee, I think this is one of the great concerns. So let me ask you again, is geolocation metadata or is it content?
It's not content, as that would be called. It doesn't give you the content of anybody's calls. All it gives you is information about where they are.
So you're saying, in other words, that geolocation you would classify as metadata?
I'm not sure that it's one or the other. I think there are times where there's things that are in between, and this may be one of those. It's certainly not content. It probably tends more towards metadata, but again, this is an evolving area of the law.
How is it evolving? I mean, we haven't. This is what scares me about what you're doing and how you're doing it. If you knew exactly where I was standing, you telling me that that's not content?
That's not the content of your conversation, no. And other people may see you. If you're standing out in public, any number of other people may see you there.
So, but if I was standing on private property.
This is part of what Jones talks about, is the trespass issue.
And they ruled 9-0 that it was an overstep and an overreach. So, are you collecting that data?
We are not collecting that data.
Let me ask the NSA. Is the NSA collecting this data?
We are not collecting that data under this program. We believe that the authority could be granted by the courts to collect that attribute. We have not done that, and as Mr. Cole and Litt indicated earlier, the director of NSA has given an affirmation to the Congress that before such time as we would reconsider that decision, we would come back to the Congress.
How, going back to you, Mr. Cole, what other bits of information fall in this gap between metadata and content? What is this third category that you're talking about? What's the right word for it?
I'm not sure it's just a third category, Mr. Chaffetz. I think there's metadata that was described by the court in Smith versus Maryland, which is the telephone records that we've been talking about today that were covered by the 215 program that we've been discussing today. There's content, which is the actual the conversations themselves that people have. And there are any number of things that may fall in between those, and it's not just a third category, it's probably a continuum.
What else would be in that continuum?
I'm sorry, sir?
What else would be in that continuum?
It's hard for me to just hypothesize about all the many different things that could be out there and where they would fall in that continuum.
There's a report out today about license plates and that information that's being collected by thousands of camera readers and stored about specific location. Does that fall within this category?
In which category?
License plate readers?
The whole issue comes down to the reasonable expectation of privacy, and this is what the court bases its rulings on.
Do you believe that I have a reasonable expectation of privacy about my specific whereabouts?
It depends on where you are. Expectation of privacy, depending on whose property it is, whether it's your own or somebody else's, how many other people are there. These are all the types of issues that would go into that.
My time has expired, but Mr. Chairman, this is something we have to much more thoroughly understand. There is guidance out there, and I think this committee should be able to see it. Yield back.
We are working